Hello folks, the White Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this very drizzly, cool autumn day. The reason I'm laughing is I just tried to do this video and this big old, not raven, but blackbird was right over my shoulder just squawking and squawking. I couldn't get anything, I couldn't say anything. It was such a distraction. Anyway, he was cracking me up. The name of this video is called The White Guy. Was God love? No, wait. What are we going to call it? Because I don't have this written down. Is God considered love before or after the cross? Okay, and basically, it's taught in Christendom that well, God is love. Because of the verses that says God is love, and but I have to tell you, folks, that really Christian theology denies him being both. He can't be both love before the cross and after the cross. He can't be. And let me explain, and I'll prove my point here in a moment. So according to 1 John 4:8 as well as 1 John 4:16, it comes right out and says God is love. Okay? And so according to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, then I can easily say God is patient, God is kind, God is not envious, God doesn't boast, God is not proud, God doesn't dishonor others, God is not self-seeking, God doesn't easily anger, God doesn't keep record of wrong. Keep that one in the back of your mind, okay? God does not delight in evil. Was the crucifixion of Jesus evil? God rejoices in the truth, and Jesus is the truth. The way, the truth, and the life. I'm sure God rejoices in Jesus. God trusts, God hopes, God always perseveres and protects. Always? Why? Because God never fails. Okay? Now, obviously, you can tell that all I simply did is replace the word love with God. And because according to those two verses in 1 John, God is love, so God has to fit. Okay, in that definition in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Well, now it's time on this video for me to rock your boat just a little bit, so try not to get too seasick here, okay? Because I know I'm going to rock the boat here. If your answer, for those who are viewing this video, if your answer was God is love or God was love before the cross, then that would have to mean, because think about it. Well, let me continue. If God was love before the cross, then that would mean that he didn't require the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, you see. He didn't require that because there was no record of wrong that needed to be sacrificed for. Okay, because love doesn't keep record of wrong. I'm hoping that made some kind of sense, and I didn't rock you too bad. Now, here's the answer to this conundrum that it faces, because the doctrines of men is what makes it a conundrum. All right. This is my answer, and not just mine alone, but a lot of people in my camp, is that that it's man that required the sacrifice of Jesus. Man did. Man wanted blood, because that's in the nature of man. Thus, man is the one who murdered Jesus, because God didn't require Jesus to be sacrificed according to the verse now I'm not gonna read these verses. I'm trying to keep this video short, but I'll say them slowly so that you can jot them down and you can look at them yourself. In Matthew 9:13, make a note of that. Matthew 9:13, in Matthew 12:7, as well as in Hebrews 10:5, and in Hebrews 10:8. It says that God didn't require a sacrifice. Okay? Didn't require it. So, I know what I just said earlier, that I know I tipped Christian theology on its head. I realize that. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. But the argument isn't with me. It's with the 4 verses that I just mentioned about God not requiring a sacrifice. And also I know I tipped Christianity on its head by saying that love doesn't keep record of wrong, so there was no reason for Jesus to be sacrificed for the wrongs if God is love before the cross. I'm hoping this is making sense, all right? Now, let me continue. If your answer was God is love after the cross, if that was it, okay, because like I said, he can't be loved both times, or else that nullifies that keeping record of wrong. Okay, stay with me. If your answer was God was love after the cross, then and only then, it would absolutely require the sacrifice of his son at that point. Because since God was not love before the cross, that means he was keeping record of wrong before the cross, and that Jesus needed to pay the price for all of those wrongs that happened before the cross. Okay, now stay with me. But see, once those wrongs were paid for by the cross, would that mean that going from the cross forward, that no records of wrong were kept because God is love now after the cross? Okay, additionally, think about this. God's very character would have to change before the cross and after the cross, according to the way I'm bringing this out. So, was God love before the death of Christ or after the death of Christ? He can't be both because love never fails. And folks, hell represents failure. It really does. And some might be saying, no, you're crazy. Why, guy? God doesn't fail. We do. We're the ones who do the failing. So, let's run with that just for a second. So, if we fail, does that mean there's a record of our failure somewhere? There's got to be. But God doesn't keep record of wrong, i.e., our failure. He doesn't keep record of that wrong after the cross, remember? So, I have to conclude that a belief in an individual's failure, it just simply doesn't add up. And it doesn't make sense. If God is love after the cross, and love doesn't keep record of wrong. All right? However, there's a however here. If what Christianity teaches is right, then God is not love. Christianity's teaching is what's right. It can't be both. Again, like I said, it doesn't all add up. Okay, in conclusion of this video, folks, the real answer is this. God is love always. That's the real answer. And I just don't mean love in general. I'm talking about perfect love. He's that always, because perfect love never fails. And perfect love would never create a place to keep record of failure for all eternity. Record of wrong. I hope I've made some of you think instead of making anyone sick to your religious stomach. See, it's not pride. It is not pride that I'm daring anyone on this video, on this channel, to prove me wrong. That's not the reason. It has nothing to do with my pride. But my dare is for the purpose to get people to think, to rethink what they've thought, what they've been taught, okay? And to apply some real, honest, soul-searching research. And then, after you do some research, you need to ask yourself, why do you believe what you believe? And where did you get that information from? Okay? So consider, if you look me up on Facebook, I have a private group called the Why Guy Group. And I just ask 3 simple questions along the lines of, do you believe you see through a glass dimly? You know, we all don't have the answers, you know, along those kind of lines. And would you like to have a safe place to discuss those beliefs? And then, you know, answer those questions. I also have a public timeline called, under the name of John Anthony Jones. That's not my name, but that's what I am on a public timeline. And look me up there. There's no conditions on that one. Just do whatever you want on that one, you know, unless you're rude. If you're rude, I'll kick your butt off of there quick, and I'll just block you. Also, consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a thumbs up or thumbs down according to your belief, okay, and your feeling about it. If you're going to leave a comment, again, be polite, so I don't have to delete your polite if you're impolite. No, delete your comment if you're impolite. That's what I meant to say. And be polite and consider leaving a comment, a positive one, to help encourage other people who might be coming along and taking a look at this video. Thanks for viewing.